That morning, no one expected a single act of defiance to change military history. What began as routine training became a moment every soldier on base would remember, and one that would test the difference between following orders and doing what's right. The sun crested the horizon over Coronado Naval Base, casting long shadows across the training fields. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Hale adjusted the strap of his rucksack, the weight familiar against his shoulders as he walked his K9 partner Rex toward the assembly point. Rex, a sleek German shepherd with a coat the color of desert sand, moved in perfect sync, his paws silent on the dew-kissed grass. The air carried the sharp tang of salt from the Pacific, mingling with the faint diesel hum of idling Humvees lining the perimeter. Hale had been with Rex for 6 years, since the dog's initial certification at the Naval Special Warfare K9 unit. They were inseparable, bonded through countless hours of drills, detection exercises in mock urban environments, night patrols under simulated fire, and the quiet trust-building sessions where Hale learned to read Rex's every ear twitch and tail flick. Rex wasn't just a tool. He was Hale's shadow, his conscience in fur and fangs. In the SEAL teams, where missions blurred the line between survival and sacrifice, that bond was the one constant. "Steady, boy," Hale murmured, his voice low and even, as they joined the formation. Around them, the platoon fell into ranks with practiced precision. Lieutenant Commander Ellis, the unit's commanding officer, stood at the front, his uniform crisp under the morning light, clipboard in hand. Ellis was a veteran of deployments in the sandbox, his face etched with the lines of decisions made in the dark. "Platoon, attention!" he called, and boots snapped together as one. The command echoed across the field, drawing eyes from the distant barracks. Today's exercise was standard. A convoy simulation through the base's rugged terrain, testing response times and detection protocols. Hale's team was tasked with perimeter security, Rex leading the sweep for improvised threats. As the lieutenant reviewed the op order, routes, checkpoints, extraction points, Hale felt the familiar rhythm settle in. This was the order of their world, chain of command unyielding, routines forged in repetition to withstand chaos. Hale respected it, had sworn to it, but beneath the discipline there was always the undercurrent of what came after, the weight of choices that lingered long after the debrief. The convoy rolled out at 600 sharp, 3 Humvees kicking up dust along the coastal road that skirted the base. Hale rode in the lead vehicle, Rex at his feet, alert and scanning through the open gunner's hatch. The road wound past scrubland and eucalyptus groves, the kind of stretch that felt both secure and exposed. Radio chatter crackled softly. "All clear, proceeding to waypoint Bravo." Hale's gloved hand rested on Rex's collar, feeling the steady rise and fall of the dog's breathing. They'd done this route 100 times, but Hale knew Rex had his rituals. About 2 miles in, where the road curved toward the old access gate, Rex would stiffen. It was always the same spot, a weathered wooden cross planted roadside, simple and unadorned, marking the site of a training accident 3 years prior. Petty Officer Reyes, a young E4 from their platoon, had lost control of his ATV during a night exercise. The crash had been quick, fatal, twisted metal and silence in the aftermath. The cross wasn't official, just something the team had erected in quiet vigil, a nod to the fragility beneath the gear. As the Humvee approached, Hale braced. Sure enough, Rex lifted his head, ears perked, and let out a low whine. The driver slowed instinctively, but Hale signaled to keep moving. "Easy, Rex. We're on the clock." The dog's eyes fixed on the cross, unblinking, as if sensing the echo of loss in the wind-rustled grass. Hale's chest tightened. He'd seen Rex do this every year since, pausing at that exact point during runs or patrols, refusing to advance until Hale coaxed him forward. Vets called it canine grief, a loyalty that didn't fade with time. Hale understood it too well. Reyes had been Rex's first handler before rotation, the one who'd trained him from puppyhood. The convoy cleared the waypoint without incident, but the pause lingered in Hale's mind through the rest of the drill. Back at base, as they offloaded gear in the armory, Ellis pulled Hale aside. The lieutenant's gaze was steady, appraising. "Saw Rex lock up again at the cross. You good to manage that on a real op?" It wasn't a reprimand, just protocol. K9 handlers had to certify emotional stability, same as any operator. Hale nodded, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. "He's solid, sir. Just a habit. Won't compromise the team." Ellis clapped him on the shoulder, the gesture brief but affirming. "I know it. Reyes was one of ours. Keep it tight." As the lieutenant walked away, Hale knelt to unclip Rex's vest, running a hand along the dog's flank. The fur was warm, still carrying the scent of earth and sea. Rex leaned into the touch, his dark eyes meeting Hale's with that unspoken trust. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the barracks in orange, Hale took Rex for a solo walk along the perimeter fence. The base quieted, save for the distant bark of other canines and the rhythmic crash of waves. They approached the access road again, the cross visible in the fading light, a silhouette against the horizon. Rex halted precisely there, sitting without command, his gaze fixed. Hale waited, the routine familiar. Minutes passed, the only sound the soft pant of Rex's breath and the rustle of dry leaves. It was Hale's way of honoring the ritual, a private moment outside the chain. He'd never reported it, no need to draw scrutiny. Duty demanded focus forward, but conscience whispered of the debts unpaid. As Rex finally rose and they continued, Hale wondered, not for the first time, if the dog sensed more than memory, if loyalty like that could detect the fractures in a man's resolve. Little did he know, this year's pause would be different. A small hand had placed a folded note at the cross's base, its edges fluttering in the breeze, waiting to upend everything. The next morning dawned with the precision of a well-oiled machine, the base stirring under a sky streaked with pale blue. Hale rose at 0500, the alarm's beep cutting through the dim barracks like a suppressed round. He swung his legs over the bunk's edge, boots hitting the cool tile floor with a soft thud. Rex was already alert in his kennel crate nearby, dark eyes reflecting the faint glow from the hallway light. Hale clipped on the leash, the metal snap echoing in the quiet room, and they stepped out into the chill pre-dawn air. The scent of eucalyptus hung heavy, mixed with the distant brine of the tide pools below the cliffs. Routine called morning PT before the day's briefings. Hale led Rex to the obstacle course, where the platoon was already forming up under floodlights. Bodies in formation, breaths visible in the crisp air, the cadence of running feet marking time. Sergeant Navarro, Hale's squad leader, nodded as they joined the line. "Hale, you're on point for the beach run. Keep Rex tight. No distractions." Navarro's voice was gravelly from years of salt and sand, his build solid from endless reps. He was the kind of NCO who enforced standards without flair, a steady hand in the hierarchy. The run began with the sharp crack of the whistle, boots pounding the packed sand as the unit surged toward the surf. Waves crashed rhythmically, foam licking at their heels, the cold Pacific spray a stark reminder of the environment that forged them. Rex loped alongside Hale, his gait fluid, paws kicking up fine grit. Hale's mind wandered briefly to the previous evening's pause at the cross, but he pushed it down. Focus was non-negotiable. A handler's lapse could cascade through the team like a compromised line. Back at the chow hall by 0700, steam rose from trays of eggs and black coffee, the clatter of utensils a low hum. Hale filled Rex's bowl with kibble in the designated K9 area outside, watching the dog eat with methodical efficiency. Inside, Ellis addressed the platoon over breakfast, his tone clipped and procedural. Intel brief, standard rotations, but eyes open for civilian encroachments along the perimeter. Last week's drone sighting near the old gate. Could be nothing, could be probing. Hale, your team's sweeping that sector this afternoon. Rex's nose is our edge. Hale acknowledged with a nod, Falk pausing mid-air. The old access gate bordered civilian land, a stretch of scrub and dirt roads where locals sometimes wandered too close. It was protocol to report intrusions, but Hale knew the area well. The cross sat just inside the fence line, a quiet sentinel. Civilians rarely approached, but curiosity or grief could draw them. He finished his meal in silence, the weight of the assignment settling like rucksack straps. By 1300, the team mobilized. 2 Humvees rumbled to the perimeter, dust clouds trailing in their wake. Hale rode shotgun, Rex harnessed in the back, his head out the window, nostrils flaring at passing scents. The radio hummed with check-ins. Alpha team en route to Sector 7. All clear. Navarro drove, eyes scanning the horizon, while the other operator, Petty Officer Lang, manned the turret, his silhouette sharp against the sun. They parked at the gate, chain link rattling as Hale dismounted. "Sweep starts here," Navarro ordered, consulting the grid map on his tablet. "Hale, take Rex east along the fence, flank us in 20. The air was warmer now, heat shimmering off the asphalt, carrying the dry scent of sagebrush. Hale gave the hand signal, forward, and Rex moved out, nose low to the ground, tail steady. They paralleled the road, the cross coming into view 50 yards ahead, its wood bleached by years of exposure. Rex didn't pause this time, not with the team in motion, but his ears flicked toward it as they passed. Hale kept pace, scanning for anomalies. Disturbed earth, unfamiliar tracks. The fence hummed faintly with embedded sensors, a low electronic buzz underscoring the silence. 10 minutes in, Rex stiffened, halting abruptly. His body went rigid, hackles subtle but present, a low rumble building in his throat. Hale froze, hand on the leash. "Alert!" he called softly into his radio. "Possible contact, bearing 090. Navarro's voice crackled back. "Copy! Converging." Hale advanced cautiously, Rex pulling toward a cluster of rocks at the fence's base, just beyond the cross. The dog pawed at the ground, unearthing a small pile of wilted flowers, wild mustard, petals brown and curled. But it was the note that caught Hale's eye, a folded square of lined paper weighted by a smooth stone tucked against the cross's post. Rex sniffed it intently, then sat, his signal for non-threat but significance. Hale knelt, gloved fingers brushing the paper free. It was childlike, creases worn from handling, the ink slightly smudged. He unfolded it carefully, the words simple and scrawled in crayon. "To the dog who remembers. My dad was the one who fell here. He loved dogs like you. Please come visit. Lily, age 8. A faint scent of lavender clung to it, perhaps from the girl's hands. Hale's pulse quickened, not from danger, but from the intrusion of the personal into the procedural. Reyes' daughter. He'd heard whispers of her, living off base with family since the accident. But this, leaving notes on restricted land. Navarro and Lang arrived, boots crunching gravel. "What have we got?" Navarro asked, peering over Hale's shoulder. Hale passed the note, his voice level. "Civilian contact, sir. Kids claiming relation to Reyes. Place this at the memorial." Navarro scanned it, jaw tightening. "Breach protocol. Fence is secure, but that's unauthorized access. Log it and report up the chain. No engaging." Hale clipped the note into his vest pocket, but Rex whined softly, nudging the flowers. The dog's empathy was raw, unfiltered. Sensing the girl's intent through scent or instinct, Hale felt the pull. Duty said secure the site, notify base security for a potential trespass. but conscience tugged at the edges, remembering Reyes' stories of his little girl, the photos tucked in his locker. Denying her this small gesture felt like another layer of silence on the loss. As they cleared the area, Hale lingered a beat, eyes on the cross. The wind picked up, rustling the paper's echo in his mind. Reporting it would trigger an investigation. Interviews, logs, perhaps a stern warning to the family. But ignoring it, that risked the team's vigilance, the very order they upheld. Rex looked up at him, eyes steady, as if weighing the same fracture. Back at the Humvee, Navarro radioed the find. Perimeter sweep complete. Noted anomaly at the cross. Civilian artifact, requesting guidance. The response came quick from Ellis. Secure it. I'll handle the CV side. Handlers, stand by for debrief. Hale loaded Rex in, the dog's coat warm from the sun, but the weight in his pocket felt heavier than any ruck. This wasn't a threat to detect, it was a crack in the armor, testing where loyalty ended and lines blurred. That night, in the quiet of the kennel block, Hale sat with Rex brushing out the day's dust. The base lights flickered on, casting long shadows through the wire mesh. He pulled the note again, tracing the childish script. Lily's words echoed Reyes' own, stories of family as the anchor beyond deployments. Hale folded it away, but the dilemma rooted deep. Follow orders, preserve the boundary, or let a sliver of compassion breach the wall. Rex rested his head on Hale's knee, a silent vote in the gathering dark. The fluorescent hum of the kennel block lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow on the rows of crates where other K9s settled for the night. Hale's brush moved in steady strokes along Rex's coat, the bristles whispering against the fur, dislodging grains of sand from the afternoon's sweep. The dog's breathing was even, a rhythmic counterpoint to the distant rumble of a supply truck rolling through the gates. Hale's fingers paused on the note in his pocket, the paper crinkling faintly under the fabric of his utilities. Lily's words burned in his mind, simple, trusting, a child's plea cutting through the barriers of rank and regulation. He stood, clipping Rex's lead for a final perimeter check, the metal links cool against his palm. The base at night felt vast and contained, floodlights sweeping the grounds like watchful sentinels, the air thick with the scent of damp earth from an evening mist rolling in off the ocean. Hale walked the path between buildings, boots scraping softly on the concrete, Rex heeling close. His thoughts circled the protocol. Unauthorized access, even sentimental, demanded documentation. A report would flag the family's location, perhaps lead to a no-trespass order. But Reyes's service record, commendations for detection work in high-threat zones, deserved more than bureaucratic dismissal. Hale had seen the photos in the locker. Reyes grinning with Lily on his shoulders, her small hands tangled in his hair. By 2200, the armory was dim, lit only by the red glow of exit signs. Hale logged into the secure terminal, the keyboard clicks echoing in the empty space. He hesitated, cursor blinking over the incident form. Anomaly, civilian note at memorial site, no security breach detected. His fingers hovered, then typed the details, coordinates, description, Rex's alert response. Attaching a scan of the note felt like sealing a fracture. Once submitted, it moved up the chain, out of his hands. He hit enter, the confirmation chime sharp in the silence. Duty first. That's what the oath required. But as the screen faded to standby, a knot tightened in his gut. The weight of unspoken loyalty, pressing like an unadjusted rucksack. Morning broke with the sharp revel horn, pulling the platoon from bunks into the grey light filtering through salt-crusted windows. Hale fed Rex in the yard, the kibble crunching under the dog's jaws, steam rising from his own mug of coffee as he reviewed the duty roster. Navarro approached, thermos in hand, his shadow long across the gravel. Debriefs at 800 in the ready room. Ellis wants you there early. About that note. Navarro's tone was neutral, but his eyes held the subtle probe of an NCO, gauging his handler's edge. Hale nodded, rinsing his mug at the spigot, water splashing cold against his wrists. "Logged it last night, Sergeant. Clean report." The ready room smelled of polished wood and machine oil, maps pinned to the walls under the hum of the AC unit. Ellis stood at the head of the table, flanked by the platoon sergeant and a base security rep in khakis, her notebook open. Hale entered with Rex at heel, the dog's nails clicking softly on the linoleum. "Petty Officer Hale," Ellis said, gesturing to a chair. "Walk us through the find." Hale sat, Rex curling at his feet, and recounted the sweep, the halt, the flowers, the note's discovery. He slid a printed copy across the table, the paper crisp under his fingertips. The security rep scanned it, her pen tapping rhythmically. Relation confirmed. Lily Reyes, residing in San Diego proper, father's accident site. This constitutes a perimeter violation, even if unintentional. Ellis leaned forward, elbows on the table, his gaze steady on Hale. "Your call on the alert. Rex flagged it as significant." Hale met the lieutenant's eyes, voice level. "Non-hostile, sir, but the dog's response was textbook. Interest without aggression. Scent could be the lavender or the paper itself." A murmur rippled through the room. Handlers knew Rex's instincts were honed sharper than most, calibrated through years of explosive detection and behavioral cues. The rep noted it down, then closed her book. "We'll notify the family. Formal warning. No further access. Sites restricted for a reason. Safety protocols post-incident." Hale's jaw tightened imperceptibly, the words landing like a misfired round. He thought of Lily's crayon script, the trust in "please come visit." Denying that felt like erasing Reyes's echo, reducing a father's legacy to a line item. But speaking up now, in front of the chain, risked questioning command, insubordination in all but name. Rex shifted at his feet, a soft huff escaping, as if sensing the tension coiling in Hale's frame. Ellis dismissed the group with a nod, but held Hale back. "You handled the log right. Reyes was solid, this hits close, but boundaries hold the unit together. Understood?" "Yes, sir," Hale replied, saluting crisply as he rose. The door clicked shut behind him, the corridor's fluorescent strips buzzing overhead. Outside, the sun climbed higher, heat baking off the tarmac where Humvees idled for maintenance. Hale took Rex to the training pads, the grass worn to dirt from endless drills. He ran obedience sequences, sit, stay, down, the commands sharp and rhythmic, Rex responding with fluid precision. But midway through a recall, Hale faltered, his whistle blast half-hearted. Rex returned but paused, nose twitching toward the perimeter fence in the distance. The pull was undeniable now. Duty had filed the report, set the wheels turning toward enforcement. Yet conscience whispered of the cross's vigil. Rex's annual pause a testament to bonds unbroken by orders. Hale clipped the lead shorter, leading them toward the fence line under the guise of a solo patrol. The air grew thicker with sage and salt, the fence wire glinting under the midday sun. As they neared the gate sector, Hale scanned for witnesses. None, just the distant call of gulls wheeling over the cliffs. He stopped at the cross, the wood rough under his gloved hand, petals from the wilted flowers scattered like faded memories. Rex sat immediately, eyes fixed on the spot where the note had been. Hale knelt, the gravel biting through his knees, and spoke low, as if the wind might carry it back to the ready room. "What would Reyes do, boy? Lock it down, or let her remember?" Rex tilted his head, a soft whine escaping, his paw nudging Hale's arm, a gesture of shared uncertainty. In that moment, the fracture widened. Hale pulled a small notebook from his vest, jotting Lily's name and the address from memory, pulled from old platoon files he'd glimpsed years back. Not for contact, he told himself, just to verify. But as he pocketed it, the act felt like the first step across a line, compassion edging against the rigid frame of protocol. Radio static crackled in his earpiece, Navarro calling for a status check. Hale keyed the mic, voice steady. "All clear, Sergeant, returning to base." The walk back stretched long, the sun beating down, sweat tracing paths under his collar. Rex moved with purpose, but Hale's steps carried the burden of the unspoken choice. Reporting had preserved order. Now the temptation to bridge the gap tested it. Little did he know. The security team's follow-up would arrive at the Reyes home that afternoon. The warning delivered to a doorstep adorned with wildflowers, pulling Lily's quiet grief into the open and drawing Hale's hidden note into unintended scrutiny. Comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far stories of courage and integrity can reach. The afternoon sun hung heavy over the base, its rays slicing through the eucalyptus canopy and dappling the asphalt in shifting patterns. Hale guided Rex through the kennel yard, the dog's paws padding softly on the packed dirt, his coat still carrying the faint grit from their earlier patrol. The air hummed with the low drone of a Blackhawk, prepping for a training hop nearby, rotors spinning lazily in the heat. Hale's mind replayed the ready room debrief, the security rep's clipped assessment, Ellis's measured reminder of boundaries. The report was filed, the chain engaged. Protocol would handle the rest. Yet the notebook in his pocket, with Lily's scribbled details, felt like a live round chambered too soon. Navarro's voice cut through the static on Hale's radio as he reached the armory. "Hale, report to the command post. Ellis needs a word on the CIV follow-up." Hale acknowledged with a double click, clipping Rex to the outside post where shade from the overhang kept the dog cool. The shepherd settled, ears perked toward the fence line, as if attuned to the unseen ripples Hale had set in motion. Inside, the command post was a fortress of screens and maps, the scent of fresh-printed intel mingling with the ever-present tang of gun oil. Ellis stood by the duty desk, reviewing a tablet with the base JAG liaison, a lieutenant in starched khakis whose badge gleamed under the fluorescence. "Petty officer," Ellis said, not looking up at first, his finger tracing a perimeter overlay. "Security teams en route to the Reyes residence now. Formal notice. No further approaches to restricted areas. You flagged the note correctly. Good work maintaining the log." Hale stood at ease, hands clasped behind his back, the posture automatic. "Understood, sir. Rex's alert was clean. No escalation needed." The JAG officer glanced up, her expression neutral, pen poised over a form. "The child's age factors in, mitigating, but the site's post-accident designation stands. Family gets the warning. We monitor for compliance." Hale nodded, the words settling like sand in his throat. He pictured the team pulling up to a modest ranch-style home off base, the kind with a chain-link yard and toys scattered on the lawn. Lily answering the door, her small face crumpling under the weight of officialdom. Reyes had spoken of her once during a downtime beer, how she'd beg for stories of Rex, drawing pictures of dogs in helmets. Denying her the cross felt like compounding the accident's silence, turning grief into another restricted zone. But Hale held his tongue. The room demanded deference, not debate. Dismissed, he retrieved Rex and headed to the training annex for handler certification drills. The annex was a sprawl of mock structures, shipping containers stacked like urban ruins, chain barriers simulating blast zones. Other K9 teams were already at work. A Belgian Malinois barking alerts at hidden scents, its handler rewarding with a quiet tug on the toy. Hale unharnessed Rex, the leather straps whispering as they fell away, and issued the search command. "Quest," he said, voice firm but low. Rex surged forward, nose working the ground in tight spirals, his body a coil of focused energy amid the dust kicked up by other dogs. They cleared 3 scenarios flawlessly: explosive simulants in debris piles, contraband in vehicle mocks. Rex's sits precise, his rewards brief pats and measured praise. But on the 4th, a perimeter intrusion sim with civilian actors, Hale's focus fractured. The actor, a wiry ensign in civvies, approached the fence line with a prop package, mimicking a lost hiker. Rex alerted sharply, but Hale hesitated on the takedown signal, his hand lingering on the leash. The drillmaster noted it, whistle pausing mid-blast. Hale, commitment, handler indecision bleeds into the dog. Hale corrected with a sharp correction. Rex executing the flank without flaw, but the feedback stung like salt in a fresh wound. By 1600, the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the cliffs in amber as Hale cooled Rex down with a hose, water sheeting off the dog's fur in rivulets that steamed on the hot concrete. The bass loudspeaker crackled with evening muster calls, pulling teams to formation. Hale's radio buzzed again. Navarro. "Security's back. Clean delivery, but the kid was upset. Ellis wants the platoon briefed at 1800. Stay sharp." Hale dried Rex with a towel, the fabric rough against the sleek coat, feeling the dog's steady gaze. "What now, boy?" he murmured, the words lost in the splash of water. Rex licked his hand once, a rare, unsolicited affection, his warmth grounding amid the swirl. The evening brief convened in the mess hall annex, folding chairs scraped into rows under harsh overheads. The platoon filled in, utilities rumpled from the day, the air thick with the aroma of reheated MREs from the line. Ellis took the podium, his presence commanding silence with a single raised hand. Perimeter integrity update, civilian interaction at the Reyes Memorial resolved. Family notified, access denied to maintain OPSEC and safety. Handlers, double-check your sectors, no lapses. Murmurs rippled, a few nods from those who remembered Reyes's easy laugh during calls. Hale sat midway back, Rex at his side under the table, the dog's head resting on his boot. As Ellis rapped, detailing next week's rotation calls, Hale's pocket vibrated. A personal cell, restricted to family only. He slipped out to the porch, the screen door creaking shut behind him. The message was from an unknown number. "This is Maria Reyes. Security came by. Lily's crying about the dog. She says Rex remembers her dad. Please just talk to her." Hale's thumb froze over the screen, the glow illuminating his face in the twilight. Maria, Reyes' sister, from the old platoon roster. How she'd gotten his number wasn't the question. In tight-knit teams, info flowed like radio traffic. He pocketed the phone without replying, the weight now compounded. Protocol barred personal engagement. Fraternization lines blurred with dependence, especially post-loss. Answering could invite scrutiny, a footnote in his fitness report. But ignoring it echoed the cross's isolation. Leaving Lily's note as just another logged anomaly, Rex whined from inside, sensing the stall, his nose pressing against the door mesh. Hale re-entered as the brief ended, salutes snapping in unison, boots echoing on the tile as the group dispersed. Night fell fully by 2000, the base lights a constellation against the dark Pacific. Hale walked Rex along the bluff trail, the path winding above crashing waves, salt spray misting their faces. The cross was out of sight, but ever present, a shadow in his periphery. He stopped at a viewpoint, the railing cool under his forearms, and pulled out the phone again. The message stared back, simple and raw. Duty urged deletion, report the contact up the chain. Conscience, fueled by Rex's unwavering loyalty, urged a bridge, perhaps a supervised visit, a way to honor Reyes without breaching walls. Rex sat beside him, eyes on the horizon where stars pricked the sky, his breath steady in the wind. Hale typed slowly, "Understood. We'll check regs. Stand by." He hit send before doubt could intervene, the whoosh sealing the step. As they turned back, the trail lights guiding their way, Hale felt the moral tension coil tighter, like a patrol in uncertain terrain, where the next move defined the mission. Unbeknownst to him, across the fence in San Diego's quiet streets, Lily clutched a drawing of a dog at a cross. Her small hope now tethered to a handler's resolve, pulling the private dilemma toward inevitable reckoning. The stars wheeled overhead as Hale and Rex descended the bluff trail, the gravel crunching under boots and paws in sync with the rhythmic crash of waves far below. The base's perimeter lights flickered like distant signals, guiding them back toward the kennel block, where shadows pooled deep between the concrete barriers. Hale's phone felt heavy in his pocket. The message sent, a single line bridging the fence line, now echoing in the quiet night. He hadn't planned it. The words had slipped out like a poorly secured latch, opening a path he wasn't cleared to tread. Rex trotted close, his flank brushing Hale's leg occasionally, the warmth a steady anchor amid the cooling mist. Dawn came too soon, the horizon bleeding pink as the reveille horn pierced the barracks at 0500. Hale stirred in his bunk, the thin mattress creaking under his weight, Rex's soft snores from the crate a familiar underscore. He rose methodically, splashing water on his face at the sink, the cold shock pulling him alert. The notebook with Lily's details lay tucked under his pillow, its edges worn from a night's subconscious fingering. Duty roster called for weapons quals at the range, but Hale's mind looped to the phone. Would Maria respond? He clipped Rex's lead, the snap echoing in the dim room, and stepped into the grey light. The air crisp with dew on the eucalyptus leaves. The range was a strip of compacted earth flanked by berms. The metallic tang of cordite lingering from early shifts. Hale zeroed his M4, the rifle stock firm against his shoulder. Breaths measured through the sights as rounds punched paper targets at 100 yards. Rex waited in the shade of the Humvee, harnessed and watchful, his ears twitching at each report. Navarro oversaw the line, his voice cutting through the pops. Hale, tight groups, focus up. Hale nodded, adjusting his stance, but a vibration in his pocket shattered the rhythm. He stepped back, checking the screen under the brim of his cap. Maria again. Thank you. Lily's been drawing Rex every day. Can he visit the cross? Just once? From the fence? Hale's thumb hovered, the range's echo fading to a dull throb in his ears. A supervised view, neutral ground, no crossing lines. It could honor Reyes without violation, let the dog fulfill that silent ritual. But regs were clear. No personal interactions with dependents outside official channels, especially post-incident sites. He typed back during a ceasefire. Not cleared for access. Perhaps a base-approved memorial event. I'll inquire. Neutral. Procedural. Buying time to route it up the chain. As quals resumed, the rifle's recoil grounded him, each shot a reminder of precision over impulse. By Aero 900, the platoon shifted to the ready room for rotation briefings, the space humming with the low murmur of operators reviewing sat imagery on laptops. Ellis paced the front, pointer tapping a projected map of the sector. Perimeter patrols intensify this week. Sevi incidents up. Hale, your team's on gate duty tomorrow. Keep Rex's sweeps tight. No anomalies. Hale sat forward, the chair's metal frame cool against his back. Rex curled at his feet with a soft sigh. The lieutenant's eyes lingered on him a beat longer, as if sensing the undercurrent. Hale saluted at dismissal, but lingered to approach. Sir, regarding the Reyes note, any provision for family memorials? The child's request was benign. Ellis paused, arms crossed, the fluorescent light etching shadows on his jaw. Handled through JAG, petty officer. Personal outreach muddies the water. Stick to your lane. The words landed firm, a barrier reinforced. But Hale caught the flicker. Ellis had lost men too, knew the quiet toll. Outside, the sun climbed. heat radiating off the tarmac as Hale led Rex to the K9 yard for downtime. The dog bounded to his water bowl, lapping steadily, droplets scattering like spent brass. Hale sat on the bench, pulling the phone once more. Maria's reply pinged. "She's heartbroken. The cross is all she has of him, please." The pull sharpened, conscience chafing against the chain's links. Hale pocketed it and ran Rex through light agility drills, jumps over low hurdles, tunnels snaking through the grass. The commands crisp to drown the doubt. But midway, Rex halted at a mock barrier, refusing the forward until Hale knelt, hand on collar. "Steady, boy, we don't cross without clearance." The dog's eyes held his, dark and knowing, a mirror to the fracture. Hale ended the session early, the yard emptying as other handlers dispersed to chow. Afternoon brought gate duty prep, the Humvee loaded with gear under the relentless sun. Navarro drove them to the sector, radio chatter sparse. All stations, routine patrol, eyes on CIV traffic. The old access gate loomed, chain link taut and topped with razor wire, the cross visible just inside like a forgotten post. Hale dismounted with Rex, the leash taut as they walked the line, the dog's nose questing along the base. No alerts, just the hum of insects and the distant whoop of a helo on approach. But as they neared the cross, a small figure appeared on the far side. Lily, standing on tiptoe against the fence, her dark hair tied back, a drawing clutched in one hand. She waved tentatively, eyes wide and hopeful. Hale froze, heart rate spiking like an incoming contact. Navarro was 30 yards back, checking sensors. Lang scanned from the turret. "Petty officer?" Lily called softly, voice carrying on the breeze, her small fingers poking the wire. "Is that Rex? Does he remember?" Rex strained forward, whining low, tail wagging in rare abandon, scent confirming the lavender from the note. Hale's hand tightened on the lead, protocol screaming retreat, but the girl's face, echo of Rhea's easy smile, rooted him. "Stand down," he murmured to Rex, stepping closer but not touching the fence. "Lily, you shouldn't be here, it's restricted." She pressed the drawing through a gap, paper fluttering. "For him." Dad said Rex was brave. Navarro's boots approached then, alert sharpening. "Hale, what's this?" The NCO's gaze flicked from the girl to the dog, tension coiling. Hale took the drawing, crayon lines of a shepherd at a cross labeled Rex and Daddy, and folded it away. "Civilian approach, Sergeant, noted." But Lily's eyes welled, her plea hanging. "Just let him see." Rex sat, pawing the ground, his empathy raw against the wire's cold divide. Navarro radioed it in. "Command, gate sector. Unauthorized civvy at fence. Child, Reyes relation. Request guidance." Ellis's voice crackled back swift. "Secure the line. No engagement. Security en route." Hale coaxed Rex away, the dog resisting with a final whine as Lily's sobs faded behind them. The incident log would balloon now. Witnessed contact. Potential breach. Hale's earlier messages flashed in his mind, the personal thread now a tripwire. As security arrived, lights flashing muted on the roadside, Hale felt the reckoning dawn. His quiet bridge attempt exposed, pulling the dilemma from shadow into the chain's unyielding light. Back at base by dusk, the debrief loomed like a tribunal, Ellis's summons terse over the radio. Hale brushed Rex in the kennel, the strokes mechanical, the dog's fur soft under calloused hands. The drawing lay on the bench, a symbol of the cost, integrity's price in a system built on walls. Navarro clapped his shoulder as he passed. "Tough spot, Hale, but lines hold for a reason." The words offered no solace. The moral test had gone public. Ripples spreading through ranks and reports, testing not just one handler, but the bonds that defined them all. The command post's door swung shut behind Hale with a heavy click, sealing the dim space against the encroaching dusk. The air inside was thick with the scent of cooling electronics and stale coffee from the duty pot, its surface filmed over from hours of neglect. Ellis stood at the head of the scarred oak table, arms crossed over his chest, the brass on his collar catching the harsh glow of the overhead lamp. Navarro flanked him, tablet in hand, while the JAG liaison from earlier now sat with a stack of forms, her pen scratching notes in the quiet that followed Hale's entry. Rex heeled at Hale's side, the dog's nails silent on the linoleum, but his ears were perked, attuned to the undercurrent of tension threading the room. "Petty Officer Hale," Ellis began, his voice level, carrying the weight of command without elevation. "Walk us through the gate incident. From the top. No omissions." Hale stood at attention, the fabric of his utilities pulling taut across his shoulders, the drawing from Lily still folded in his pocket like a concealed round. He recounted it methodically. The patrol approach, Lily's sudden appearance at the fence, Rex's alert response, the brief exchange. Navarro interjected with timestamps from his log, the digital clock on the wall ticking past 1900 as details unfolded. The child's wave, the past drawing, the radio call for guidance. Hale kept his tone procedural, eyes forward, but the memory of Lily's tear-streaked face lingered, sharp as salt spray. The JAG officer leaned forward, her glasses slipping slightly on her nose. "You engaged directly? Identified yourself? Or the dog?" Hale nodded once, the motion precise. "Confirmed her relation, ma'am? No physical contact. Fence intervened, secured the drawing as evidence." She jotted it down, the pen's nib scraping like fine gravel. Ellis rubbed his jaw, the faint stubble rasping under his fingers, his gaze appraising Hale with the steady probe of a man who'd navigated worse fractures. "Your prior log on the note, clean. But this? Personal outreach attempts via civilian channels. That's off book, Hale. Explain." Hale's pulse measured steady, trained breaths keeping it even, but the exposure hit like a poorly braced breach. The messages to Maria, brief, cautious, now surfaced in Navarro's report, pulled from cell logs during the initial sweep. "Sir, the initial contact was unsolicited. I responded to de-escalate route through official means. No commitment made. Truth, but incomplete. The notebook under his pillow, the quiet inquiries, painted a handler, testing boundaries for compassion's sake." Ellis exhaled slowly, the sound cutting the hum of the AC unit. "Intent matters, but protocol doesn't bend for it. Reyes's loss was ours. Hard, but the fence exists for reasons. OPSEC, liability, the chain that keeps us whole. This pulls dependence into our lane, risks the unit." Navarro shifted, his boots scuffing the floor faintly. Rex's response was noted, strong interest. Kid's scent matched the note, but engagement invites repeats. The dog at Hale's feet whined softly, a low vibration Hale felt through his leg, Rex's empathy bridging what words couldn't. Hale knelt briefly to steady him, gloved hand on the collar, the leather warm from the day's heat. "Understood, Sergeant. Won't happen again." But the words tasted hollow. Lily's drawing burned against his thigh, a testament to the human cost of those lines. The debrief stretched into the evening, forms initialed under the lamp's unforgiving light. Hale's signature steady despite the knot in his chest. Dismissed at 2100, he led Rex to the kennel block, the base paths lit by sodium vapors that cast elongated shadows across the dew-slick grass. The Pacific's murmur rose from the cliffs, a constant undertone to the night's quiet, broken only by the distant bark of a sentry dog. Inside the block, Hale filled Rex's bowl with fresh water, the splash echoing off cinder-block walls, then sat on the low stool, pulling the drawing free. Crayon lines depicted Rex at the cross, a stick figure Lily beside, hearts dotting the sky. Simple, raw, echoing the bond Reyes had shared with the dog before the accident claimed him. Rex nosed Hale's knee, his breath warm and even, eyes reflecting the dim bulb overhead. Hale traced the paper's edge, the texture rough from childish grip. Reporting it fully now would bury the incident deeper. Counseling, perhaps a formal reprimand in his eval. But withholding felt like another silence, compounding the cross's vigil into institutional indifference. He folded it away, standing as the clock struck 2200, the base settling into its nocturnal rhythm, generators humming, patrol's footsteps fading into the dark. Morning revel pierced the fog at 0500, the horn's wail pulling Hale from fragmented sleep. He rose, muscles stiff from the night's tension, and harnessed Rex for PT, the straps buckling with familiar clicks. The platoon formed on the beach, sand cool underfoot, waves lapping at the tide line with a rhythmic hush. Navarro led the run, cadence calls sharp against the wind, but eyes turned to Hale. Subtle glances, the quiet judgment of brothers who'd heard whispers from the debrief. Rex loped steady, paws sinking into the wet pack, but Hale felt the isolation creep in, like a patrol cut off from Overwatch. Chow followed at 0700, the hall's steam trays fogging the air with eggs and oats, mugs clinking in the low murmur. Ellis pulled Hale aside near the exit, coffee in hand, the steam curling like smoke signals. Jags reviewing, standard for civ interactions. Your sideline from gate duty pending. Use the time for Rex's research. The lieutenant's tone held no malice, just the procedural grind, but his hand on Hale's shoulder lingered a fraction, a nod to shared understanding. Reyes would get it. Boundaries protect the living too. Hale saluted, the motion crisp, and stepped out into the rising sun, its warmth doing little to ease the chill of scrutiny. By 1000, Hale reported to the K9 training annex, the sprawl of obstacles baking under the climb. He ran diagnostics on Rex, scent wheels, obedience grids. The commands barked in sequence, Rex responding with fluid grace, his coat gleaming in the light. But during a halt-stay drill, the dog broke position once, nose lifting toward the perimeter, a whine escaping. Hale corrected gently, tug on the collar, but the lapse mirrored his own, loyalty pulling against restraint. The drill master, a grizzled chief with scars from old ops, noted it without comment, his log pen pausing mid-stroke. Afternoon brought the formal inquiry. The JAG office, a sterile box of file cabinets and frosted glass, the scent of toner heavy. Hale sat across from the liaison and a psych eval rep, Rex waiting outside with a handler escort. Questions probed, motivations, message logs, emotional state post-Reyes. Hale answered even-keeled, detailing the moral pull, the note's plea, Rex's ritual pause as a living memory of loss. Duty to the team, sir, but the cross honors one of ours. Denying the girl felt incomplete. The psych rep nodded, her voice soft but clinical. Grief transference common in handlers. Recommend counseling, voluntary to affirm stability. As the session wrapped, Hale retrieved Rex, the dog's tail thumping once against his leg, a quiet affirmation. The bass loudspeaker called evening muster, pulling him to formation where the platoon stood in ranks, the flag snapping overhead in the breeze. Navarro's brief was terse, rotations adjusted, integrity emphasized. Eyes met Hale's, supportive from some, wary from others, the incident rippling through the ranks like a fault line. Back in the barracks by dusk, Hale brushed Rex under the bunk light, the bristles whispering, the dog's head resting heavy on his boot. The notebook and drawing lay on the footlocker, symbols of the test, now public. Institutional wheels turned, reviews, logs, potential reforms to memorial protocols. But Hale's choice had sparked it. Conscience clashing with command in the quiet hours. Rex sighed, eyes closing, his trust unwavering. Hale felt the legacy shift, not just a handler's lapse, but a catalyst for bridging grief and duty, the cross's shadow lengthening into something shared. If this story already has your respect, hit the like button. It helps the story of Marcus Hale reach those who still believe in honor. The first light of dawn filtered through the narrow window of the JAG office, casting elongated shadows across the polished conference table where Hale sat. His posture rigid in the starched chair. Rex lay at his feet, the dog's flank rising and falling in measured rhythm, a quiet presence amid the stack of reports and the faint scent of ink from the fresh printed evaluation. The psych rep's words from the previous day echoed in Hale's mind: grief, transference, voluntary counseling. But the room now held more than assessment. Ellis entered with a folder under his arm, Navarro trailing, their boots echoing softly on the tile like the cadence of an approaching formation. "Petty officer," Ellis said, taking the head seat, his voice carrying the gravel of early hours and unresolved tension. He slid the folder across, its edges crisp against the wood. "Inquiries closed. No formal action. Your log was solid. Intent documented as compassionate, not derelict." Hale's shoulders eased a fraction, the relief subtle, like a held breath released during a long dive. But Ellis continued, eyes steady. "That said, the incident's flagged for review. JAG's recommending a policy tweak. Supervised memorials for dependents at legacy sites. Reyes Cross could be the pilot, fenced view, quarterly visits. A9 integration where applicable." Hale nodded, gloved hand resting on Rex's collar, feeling the steady pulse beneath the fur. The proposal wasn't absolution, it was evolution, born from the fracture he'd exposed. Navarro leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his nod affirming. "Platoon's talking about it already. Handlers see the sense. Rex's ritual isn't a glitch, it's a reminder. Strengthens the bond, not weakens it." The room fell quiet, save for the distant hum of a generator kicking on outside, underscoring the shift. One handler's quiet defiance rippling upward, challenging the rigidity without shattering it. By 0800, the base stirred into full motion, the air thick with the brine of low tide and the sharp crack of PT formations echoing from the beach. Hale led Rex to the K9 yard, the gravel crunching underfoot, the dog's leash taut as they navigated past teams, prepping for quals. Whispers followed, subtle nods from operators who'd lost comrades, a chief's quiet, "Well done," as he passed with his own shepherd. The incident hadn't branded Hale a rogue. It had humanized the protocol, turning a personal moral stand into a unit-wide reflection. He unclipped Rex for a free run, the dog bounding across the worn grass, paws kicking up faint dust clouds that caught the rising sun. Counseling convened at a 1000 in the base chapel annex, a low-ceiling space with wooden pews worn smooth from years of quiet vigils. The chaplain, a Navy vet with salt and pepper hair and a voice like weathered oak, sat across from Hale, no notebook, just 2 mugs of coffee steaming on the table between them. Rex curled nearby, nose twitching at the faint aroma of incense lingering from morning services. "Talk me through it," the chaplain prompted, his tone open, devoid of judgment. Hale spoke evenly, recounting the cross's pull, Lily's note as the catalyst, the messages that bridged forbidden ground. "Duty's clear, follow the chain, but conscience, it doesn't salute on command." The chaplain nodded, stirring his coffee with a slow swirl. "Reyes' legacy isn't in the logs, it's in the lives it touches. Your choice spotlighted that. The system's learning, reforms like the memorial access mean grief doesn't stay siloed." Hale traced the mug's rim, the ceramic warm against his fingers, feeling the weight lift incrementally. It wasn't redemption in medals or promotions. It was quieter, a mentorship forged in vulnerability. As the session ended, the chaplain clasped his shoulder. "Rex chose you for a reason. Trust that instinct in yourself." Afternoon quals resumed under a sky clearing to brilliant blue, the training annex alive with the commands of handlers and the responsive barks of K9s navigating scent lines. Hale integrated the new protocol into Rex's drills, a simulated memorial sweep, the dog pausing at a marked post without correction, his sit signaling recognition over alert. Navarro oversaw, stopwatch in hand, his feedback precise. Clean integration. Builds resilience. The platoon watched from the sidelines, a few murmurs of approval cutting through the wind rustling the eucalyptus. Hale felt the transformation settle, not as hero, but as catalyst, his integrity weaving compassion into the fabric of discipline. By 1600, Ellis summoned the unit to the parade ground, the formation snapping into place under the flagpole where the stars and stripes snapped crisply in the breeze. The lieutenant's address was brief, procedural. Policy update. Effective immediately. Legacy sites like the Reyes Memorial open for supervised dependent access. Handlers incorporate into rotations. This honors our fallen without compromising security. Eyes met across the ranks, salutes held a beat longer, the collective exhale unspoken. Hale stood midway, Rex at heel, the dog's ears perked as if understanding the shift. It was reform born of reckoning, Hale's moral stand, sparking a legacy that extended beyond one cross to the institution's core. Dusk painted the perimeter in soft oranges as Hale walked Rex to the gate sector, the chain link now bearing a small sign. Supervised access, by appointment. Security had cleared Lily's visit for the following week, Maria coordinating through official channels, the drawing framed in the ready room as a quiet emblem. Hale paused at the fence, the cross visible in the fading light, its wood warmed by the day's sun. Rex sat without command, gaze fixed, but this time Hale joined him, hand on the dog's shoulder, the bond a bridge no longer strained by silence. Weeks blurred into routine, the memorial visits becoming a measured ritual. Lily at the fence, her small hand waving drawings, Rex responding with tail wags and soft whines, Hale overseeing from the line, the platoon adapted, other handlers sharing stories of their K9's quirks, turning personal grief into unit strength. Hale's eval reflected it, commendation for initiative, a nod to moral courage under scrutiny. He became a quiet mentor, briefing new E4s on the balance. Obedience as foundation, conscience as compass. One evening, as the sun dipped below the cliffs, Hale sat with Rex on the bluff, the waves' crash a steady underscore. The base lights flickered on below, a grid of order amid the vast Pacific dark. Lily's latest note, approved and passed through channels, lay in his pocket. Thank you for remembering with Rex. Dad would be proud. Hale folded it away, the paper's crease smooth from handling. In the rigid world of ranks and routines, his choice had carved space for humanity, proving that true loyalty bent the system toward justice, not broke it. Rex leaned against him, eyes on the horizon, their shared vigil a symbol of enduring strength. Subscribe for more stories of loyalty, courage, and justice within the ranks. Thank you for watching the case of the SEALs K9 stopped at the same roadside cross every year until a little girl left a note there. See you in the next one.